Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be discussing 5 strategies for simplifying your collaboration technologies. My name is Leslie Phillips and today I'm joined by Joe Mann, Blue Jean's Director of Sales Engineering. Today Joe is going to discuss strategies for evaluating the TCO of your investments, ensuring ease of use for your users, leveraging enterprise-grade scale, security, and support, harnessing the power of integration and interoperability, and finally, developing an internal user strategy. Before I pass it off to Joe, just a few quick housekeeping items. We are using the Blue Jeans event solution today, and all the attendees are currently in a one-way viewing mode. And if you have any technical issues during the presentation, please use the moderator chat feature, which is in the right-hand side navigation. Then, at the end of presentation, when we handle Q&A, please post your questions using the Q&A chat feature, which is also on the right-hand side navigation. And finally, at the end, we are recording the event, so when it's over, we will share the presentation out with you via email afterwards. Now, I'm going to pass it over to Joe.
Great. Thank you, Leslie, and thanks for everyone joining online today and learning a little bit more about strategies for simplifying collaboration technologies. Certainly a hot topic these days with how people communicate, and there's a lot of different services and applications out there. So I'm going to go through 5 core strategies here today to help you simplify those collaboration technologies, prepare for the future, and create an end user experience that's going to be great and lead towards adoption and growth. So looking at organizations today, we're in a race to drive productivity. It's crucial for many organizations to get the most out of every employee they can, and that starts with digital transformation. It's a buzzword that a lot of us have heard as we are transitioning from legacy to new technology. Also, adapting to the modern workforce is something that is changing. We have people working in different places in different roles. Not just in an office anymore. They can really be anywhere. The demographic is also changing of the modern workforce, and the technologies need to adapt to meet their needs and their wants for how they communicate. With all those new technologies and digital transformation coming about, IT is taking on increased responsibility with how they manage all of these different applications and tools. They need to be secure, they need to be reliable, they need to be managed centrally and controlled. So IT has a significant responsibility to choose the right tool, to be able to manage it, control it, have visibility over it, and also prevent shadow IT from creeping in and users just going out and choosing their own tools. As technology continues to adapt, there are going to be new technologies coming out all the time, and those technologies need to be evaluated for their possible value to an organization. And those technologies are coming out at a more rapid pace than ever before, so you need to be ready for those new technologies as they come on to the market and be able to evaluate if they are fit for your organization. So we're going to focus a lot on digital transformation today and kind of how that plays a factor into your decision of your collaboration technologies. But the digital transformation, they're driving IT decisions more than ever, and the adoption of technology to enhance productivity and collaboration is key. They want to roll out these technologies that are simple to manage on their end, but they increase productivity for the end users and create a great end user experience. They also want to implement solutions that reduce their TCO. Keeping costs under control has always been a primary goal of IT, and these new technologies, especially those that allow you to consolidate, will help you bring your TCO down and therefore your ROI up. Consolidating technologies also can reduce end-user confusion. If you have a number of technologies that have overlapping capabilities, are redundant, it just leads to a lot of user confusion around what technology to use when, how to use it, and just really this overload of too many choices when it comes to collaborating with their coworkers. Looking at some industry evaluations here, 2/3 of the CEOs of the Global 2000 companies will include digital transformation at the core of their business strategy. So you can see the significance of digital transformation going into the future, as far as how CEOs, not even just CIOs, but CEOs that are running these global organizations are shaping the strategy of how they move into the future. So the 5 core strategies we're going to be speaking about today are total cost of ownership, evaluating what that is today and how that could be improved overall. Looking at the ease of use of these collaboration technologies, which obviously plays a big factor at adoption and end user satisfaction. Making sure that these solutions are enterprise grade. They can integrate across the board with other platforms, services, and solutions you have in place to make seamless workflows. Integration and interoperability are important as well. So existing technology and hardware you might be leveraging in the conference room or in other parts of your network to make sure that those can be leveraged and also integrated with easily. And then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, is adoption. If you do choose to roll out a new technology to help consolidate, you want to make sure to create ways for users to adopt, because that's going to drive a lot of satisfaction, a lot of growth. IT themselves, they can only do so much to introduce and educate and train and put the word out. But at the end of the day, if the end users love the technology and it provides a benefit to them, they're going to adopt it, use it heavily, and get the most value out of it. Let's focus on our TCO here. So a few different points on evaluating your total cost of ownership. First of all, you want to take inventory of what you have and potentially where it could overlap. So do you have multiple tools and services and applications today that might have some redundant capabilities? You could have an audio bridge, you could have web conferencing service, you could have an on-premise MCU for video conferencing, and then also any cloud office suites more for a bring your own device type approach. These services do have some unique features, but a lot of the capabilities are overlapping, and therefore your cost might be a little bit redundant there. Lost productivity is certainly one to consider. Those of us who have used conference room technologies or really even web conferencing technologies on the desktop as well, there is often a meeting join tax that is experienced, and that's the time it takes from when you click that button or walk into the conference room to join to when you actually get into the meeting and can get started with the meeting content. Historically, that has been challenging with complicated systems with confusing remote controls, or downloads required, or multiple steps and clicks just to get into a meeting. So the productivity loss there can certainly add up over time if you multiply it by the number of people that are hosting these meetings across your entire employee base, and that can include meetings with external participants as well. IT support and management is certainly one that is important and needs to be taken into account. If your service or applications you're using today are complex, are prone to having issues, that could easily create a bottleneck of support requests coming in, bog down IT, which then takes a lot of their time to be reacting to these challenges rather than figuring out the future strategy of the organization or talking about the larger picture or bigger initiatives going on. Also, shadow IT needs to be taken into account of end users that are fed up with the current solution that they have or current technology and just want to go out and buy something else or download a free application that they feel works better just because the current solution adopted by IT is not providing the level of support, functionality, or ease of use that they need. Hardware refresh and maintenance costs are certainly something that can add up over time. Those that have invested in legacy infrastructure know very well the costs associated with that hardware, even on an ongoing basis. After you've purchased the piece of equipment itself, every year you're going to have an annual maintenance cost associated with it. And across an organization, that cost can certainly add up quickly. So you've got a capital expense and you've got an operational expense just to be able to leverage some sort of video conferencing technology or meeting technology. And as you refresh this technology as well, that costs can add up to bring in new equipment, the installation and support services involved with that. So that really can be a significant investment over time. Move on to ease of use here, which is certainly important as the end user plays a bigger role here in the decision of the technology adopted. So looking at ease of use, it has to start with a simple one-touch join experience. And that means desktop and mobile and conference room, wherever you're at, you need to have the option to just click or touch to join. Meeting IDs and passcodes are something that people are used to, but add more time and confusion into the meeting. It needs to be something where you just have a simple click or a touch and you're in. The interface needs to be intuitive. The simplicity of the application needs to be so that the user can get in a way that's simple, have a consistent experience across different devices, and not have feature or button overload. They need the features that are important to them to use, but not necessarily ones that are going to be redundant or potentially confusing. It just needs to work, and you don't need to have to read a manual or a user guide to be able to understand how to use that service. With today's workforces being distributed and also the need to collaborate with different businesses and also your customers and consumers, you need to be able to join from anywhere. That could include any type of device. It would be a desktop, a mobile device, or a room system, or even join from challenging network environments, which can certainly be a coffee shop or maybe a remote location. But the people need to be anywhere. Sometimes you're out in the field and maybe you can't rely on a great connection. You still need to have a technology that is resilient enough to be able to adapt to those kind of changing environments. It also needs to be accessible from existing workflows. There's a lot of other applications out there that users are taking advantage of on a daily basis, and they need to be able to move in and out of those applications into a meeting very easily. So that starts with your email and calendaring service today, also any sort of chat and instant messaging service you use, your CRM or your learning management systems, all these different areas where you can incorporate and share data and communicate. You need to have a service that fits in between that and allows easy join and management of meetings from there. So you've evaluated your TCO. You want to make sure you have something that's easy to use, but you want to have something that's also enterprise grade. Has a consumer experience, but an enterprise grade solution to integrate, have security, and be manageable. So it starts with the features that you need and the functionality in that application: high definition video, superior audio, screen sharing, whiteboarding, and annotation. Those are the features that are important to meetings and need to be there for the users to take advantage of. Enterprise-grade security is going to be essential, especially for the move to cloud, which many are taking advantage of today. You need to make sure that there is proper encryption on the endpoints, that there is SOC 2 compliance, GDPR, identity management through SSO. These are critical factors to secure the service, ensure that it's going to be not prone to any sort of security risks, and then also be able to manage it easily as well. Scale is going to be crucial, especially if you're a growing company or if you're a global company that has varying levels of usage. We need to have a globally distributed architecture. It needs to be highly available and then also elastic. So if I am a rapidly growing organization, I don't need to be concerned about purchasing additional hardware or having the service that I subscribe to have enough capacity for my growing company. It needs to be elastic and adaptable, and as one of the key advantages of cloud services are. One of the most important elements of being able to realize your investment is to be able to measure it, and then also management. So on the management side, you want to be able to monitor the usage that your users are taking advantage of with the service. You need to understand their feedback as well. Are they having a great experience with your service? And then also be able to realize ROI, to be able to really measure those results and get tangible numbers out of your usage of a service to potentially reduce travel costs or save time, reduce emissions, whatever your initiative might be. You need to be able to have a way to measure that and report that back to stakeholders and business leaders so that they understand the investment in the technology is being realized. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here at integration and interoperability. All right, so integrating applications with each other is certainly crucial, really, for any technology you're going to use, because no technology really does it all. So you need to understand how each technology that you're going to choose is going to integrate with the other applications that you have in place today. So best of breed integration across other applications. There are a number of companies today that do one thing very well, and you want to make sure that that technology you're leveraging integrates across the board with other solutions with companies that also do their particular specialty very well. That can include instant messaging, the email calendar and services out there. Also on the network side, MPLS integrations across your network, especially if you're a global company, making sure to leverage your private network where you can. And then also for higher quality audio on the phone and reduce costs, being able to do SIP trunking. Many users out there today and organizations have a significant investment in video conferencing, as it's been around certainly for a while, and that investment needs to be leveraged for as long as it can. You've invested a lot of money in hardware, in the maintenance costs for it, and in the standards you may have created for these rooms. So you need something that's interoperable so that you can bring in a new service that is modern and simple, but also leverage what you have existing to get the most out of it, and also future-proof it for any sort of additional changes and refresh cycles and new technology you bring in the future. Also, you need to be able to ensure that there's an open standard out there that's embraced for users on the desktop to not require downloads, embracing WebRTC for browser support. For those that either don't want to or can't download an application, or external users, perhaps for HR interviews or other use cases like that, where being able to leverage what's already there in a WebRTC supported browser and have users just get into the meeting simply and easily with no downloads required. For those that are investing a little more in creating their own custom applications, you need to have a robust API and SDKs available to do that, to have an underlying service behind what you're doing in your embedded application, but the ability to embed that into your own app with your own branding and look and feel and your special sauce that you add to the application, but the service behind it be robust and reliable and easy to integrate. Lastly, let's take a look at adoption, which once you have all the other 4 elements in place, ensuring adoption from the end users is the last and sometimes the most important step to ensure that you are able to get the service used and really get the most out of it. First step would be to develop a user communication strategy. So how are you going to communicate with users to help them understand that there is a new service out there that they can use, and there is something that's going to be better than what they had previously, how it's going to be better, to help them understand that ahead of time, to help to prepare them for what they might need to understand when that new service comes out. This can be in the form of mass emails, digital signage that's displayed around your organization as they pass through the halls. You can also even host your own internal webcast to introduce people to this new technology, help them understand what problems it solves, how they can sign up if they want to take an early look, and just how they can find the necessary materials they might want to read to understand this new technology better. Employee champions are going to be crucial to adoption as well. As an IT organization introducing a new technology, they alone can't drive the adoption of the technology. It really takes building champions to extend the reach of IT and of those who are introducing this new technology to help evangelize it across the company. If you have people that really are excited about this new technology, that want to use it, that are hungry for change, you use those people to your advantage and have them help you spread the word, to take the people in their department and show it to them and help them understand how it's beneficial, get them really excited about it, and have that word spread. Therefore, increasing the level of adoption and shortening the overall deployment cycle, because so many people are interested in adopting the new product. Going to integrate with the existing workflows. I did touch on this earlier with the integrations aspect, but when you have simple workflows for the end users, it's going to create easy adoption for them. If it just fits into what they're doing today, what their the other applications they're using today, then from the end user side, there is really a very short learning curve, a shallow learning curve to adapt this new technology, because it integrates so well with their existing workflows and processes that they already have in place. Lastly is to embrace change and encourage growth. Change is not easy for any size organization, whether you're a 10-person company or you're a 100,000-person company. Change can be difficult, and people change at their own pace. Finding ways to be able to embrace that change yourself and also encourage that growth, which can be done through those champions that you've identified. But you want to create situations where people are motivated to learn and adapt, to get them excited about this new technology, and help them understand how much better it is, or what problems that it solves that you previously had, to have them embrace that change. Because if you have the end users embracing the change and asking for the new technology, then you don't have to worry about doing any sort of push or force change, which can be met with some resistance and cause slower adoption and pushback. So if you have ways to embrace the change and encourage the user growth and adapting new technologies, it's just going to take off that much faster. I want to provide a quick case study on a current customer of ours, just to give an example of situations where we've had customers who historically had some challenges that I've discussed earlier, and what they wanted to do, what goals they had set for themselves, and how they were able to leverage BlueJeans to be able to solve these problems and really create a much better end user experience here. So looking at Intuit, their objectives coming into evaluating a new service were to accelerate the innovation cycles to deliver the best software and customer experience. Those who have used Intuit and their software, pretty much every year around tax season, they are having long, drawn-out meetings, almost 24 hours a day at times, where they need to make sure that their service is up and their service is working, and they need to have a communication strategy that allows or supports them when they're having those extended meetings during tax season there. They wanted to enhance employee productivity across these teams. So the teams they had in the U.S. or internationally across the world, they need to be able to easily communicate and get things done, both when they're enhancing the software and also in the very crucial times during tax season, when communication needs are at an all-time high for them. Looking at BlueJeans, they evaluated our meeting service, and for them it enabled Agile and Scrum development teams to have these meetings that were necessary for the shorter development cycles, and then also just standard business meetings for different lines of businesses and departments across the world. On the business side, the outcomes they experienced because of that were improved productivity across the global teams. They're hosting 20,000 meetings per month right now. Those meetings are much more productive than the previous solution they were using, as they have started to embrace video across the board, not only in their conference rooms, but on the desktop and mobile, using video communication as a more enhanced form of communicating, which shortens meeting times and just really increases overall communication and productivity. They also be able to save 40% in their annual travel costs by leveraging not only video communications, but a service that actually people want to use and enjoy the experience of and have adopted. They have an 80-plus NPS score internally for the service as well. So a high level of satisfaction around the usage of BlueJeans, along with meeting or exceeding those overall business goals that they had. Looking at BlueJeans, we have designed our service to be the meetings platform for the modern workplace. And what that means is bringing video, audio, and web conferencing together with the collaboration tools that people use every day. So what used to be multiple services that you might have to use independently or have clunky integrations with, we are one service, one platform that brings all those together. And we do so focusing on 3 modern tenets, and that's simple, modern, and trusted. And that is geared towards different users and different types of integrations that we have across the board. So if you look at the simplicity, obviously that was one of the keys that I touched on earlier with getting end user adoption. We want to embrace different operating systems, ways to join meetings, and also legacy technologies, and bring those together in a way that is easy and simple. So Windows and Mac and iOS and Android, WebRTC in the browser, your standard video conferencing manufacturers. What used to be complex or incompatible can all now come together in one solution in a more simplified way. Being a modern service, that means we have to have product offerings that meet multiple use cases, along with the integrations and workflows around them to make it easy to manage and get in and out of meetings. So today you've got BlueJeans Meetings, which is your day-to-day meeting service for collaborative engagement in smaller groups. BlueJeans Events, which, as Leslie mentioned, we're using for this broadcast today, which is your webinar and large event service for all hands and town halls and other events where you have either a larger capacity or a higher need for control. And then in the conference room, we're bringing it together with BlueJeans Rooms, and that is our conference room solution to be able to connect to a meeting or an event and have that consistent user experience that I mentioned is key across multiple devices. So whether I'm on the desktop or I walk into a BlueJeans room, I'm going to have a familiar user interface. I'm going to have the ability to join with a single touch and just make that experience easy wherever I am taking that meeting. Embedded applications are something that we have focused on and built out, again, to use BlueJeans as the back-end service to bring communication together, but be able to embed that experience in your own custom application to present to your customers or your internal stakeholders. Integrations across different best-of-breed applications is something that we focused on with messaging and scheduling especially. So if I am a Slack user or a Microsoft Teams user and I want to easily escalate from a chat meeting or chat messaging session right into a video meeting, we have easy integrations across the board there to go right from chat to video in a single click. For scheduling, the ability to schedule and join meetings easily from your preferred calendaring service is key to be able to get that user adoption that you're focusing on. So whether you're a Microsoft user and you use Exchange or Office 365, you have G Suite and your Google Shop. We have one-click scheduling options and one-click join options across the board there. On the infrastructure side, we've embraced the fact that we are a cloud service, but that also people need a level of control and security as far as the traffic. So partnering with MPLS providers, being able to create SIP trunks or integrate with single sign-on for identity management. It's all about the control and security and reliability that is crucial for enterprise organizations. For new technology, we have been partnering and working with a couple of companies for voice and AI solutions. We're a part of the Alexa for Business program, so you can have an Echo Dot actually join a BlueJeans meeting with voice commands. Also, we've partnered with Voicera, who has built a digital assistant for meetings that'll join your meeting, that'll take notes, record, capture action items, highlights, do a lot of automatic note-taking with their own algorithm to remove the need for manual note-taking and also provide a lot of specific insights to the content of that meeting. Lastly, and most importantly, certainly for IT, is the ability to be a trusted service. And for us being a cloud service, that means being reliable, having a high uptime, leveraging a global data center infrastructure in order to do that, both through Equinix and then also augmenting through Amazon Web Services across the world. So no matter where you join a BlueJeans meeting from, there will be a data center somewhere nearby, so you don't have a long path to get into a meeting. And also there's a level of redundancy and disaster recovery as well, so you can ensure that for your business critical needs of communication, you have a service that's going to have high uptime behind that. Our organization also goes through annual auditing and testing to ensure that we have a high level of security, both within our company and within our service. We recently completed our GDPR compliance to make sure that whatever security standards you have in place, we can meet now and into the future. Looking at your management on the back end and reporting capabilities, that's where Command Center comes into play, which is our analytics platform that's included with any BlueJeans service that you sign up for. And the amount of data that we gather for these call details is quite massive, and we want to be able to offer that up to our end users in a way that's easy to consume, but also comprehensive, very detailed, and with the ability to report on it as well. You have to report back to key stakeholders of what is your utilizations, what's your level of satisfaction, what types of endpoint are you using, which can easily be run with reports in Command Center, and then also just get access to raw data on the network side, packet loss, jitter, frame rate, the really important details for understanding network utilization and potentially troubleshooting any issues. So bringing that all together, really looking at our goal as being the meetings platform for the modern workplace. There are a number of elements, as you see, that go into that, but in the end, we want to create this simple, seamless solution on the front end with robust capabilities and security and manageability on the back end for all of our users, bringing that together as you work through consolidating and standardizing your meeting service platform and your technology going into the future here. So with that, I want to turn it back over to Leslie. If you have any questions that have come up on the Q&A here, bring her back in to see if we have any questions.
Hey everybody, thanks Joe, that was great. And we do have a few questions posted already, and I want to remind our audience that if you do have a question, just use the Q&A function on the right-hand side of your navigation. And let's see what we have in here first. Our question is asking, why do you think there's an increase in demand for huddle spaces?
Yeah, that's a good one. And that's come up for a lot of different service providers, and I'm sure those who are attending today have probably heard that term huddle room more than they might have wished. But looking back 10 or maybe 15 years, and my background is actually in audiovisual, so I used to build out a lot of corporate boardrooms and conference rooms that were very complex, a rack full of equipment and microphones on the table hanging from the ceiling. And there were these beautiful rooms that maybe cost $50,000 or more to make, and they were cumbersome to maintain and upgrade. And the end users, as video became more prevalent and just using meeting technology became more prevalent, it's not necessarily possible, nor is it really smart to build those type of rooms across an organization. You want to have more meeting spaces for people so they can walk into a room where there's just two people or maybe three or four that are having a meeting amongst themselves or with a couple people on the other end. You need to have video enabled spaces, but you need to do so at a lower cost. You have the opportunity to enable more spaces. So that rise in the demand for the huddle type spaces is really all about the evolution of meeting technology, especially the use of video and the demand created from the end users to say, hey, I want to have a meeting room to go to have my meeting, but I'm not an executive, so can I get a meeting space to go into that's just simple and easy to use? So that's certainly where the biggest space of growth as far as conference room technology is being seen today.
Excellent. So our next question is, how do I make multiple communication applications work today? And they're saying, as examples, Slack, email, and video conferencing rooms.
Yeah, that's another one that comes up, and I touched on it a little bit during my presentation, but it's what we see a lot is there are, for instance, Daniel mentioned Slack there. So Slack is a fast-growing company that makes a great product for instant messaging, file sharing, communication in different channels, which they do very well. But when you talk about communication, that is one element of it. So there are other communication services, obviously, Blue Jeans or whatever your email and calendar service is, whether you're Microsoft or Google Shop. So we see a lot of companies adapting a best-of-breed type strategy where whatever their particular need is, they're going to go out and find the best solution they can for that particular need, rather than maybe choosing one solution that does a little bit of everything, but maybe doesn't necessarily do anything particularly great. So in order to make that easy, you need to look for products that have integrations with each other, so that you can go from a Slack conversation into a Blue Jeans meeting, or you can leverage existing video conferencing technology that you have with Cisco, Polycom, LifeSight, or others to use with a new meeting technology beyond just maybe the on-premise MCU or point-to-point calls that you had before. So when you go out and look for those best-of-breed applications, understand how they're going to integrate with what you have in place today and what you do, the technology that you do enjoy, that you end users are adapting. So it's certainly going to be important if you go for that best-of-breed strategy.
Excellent. So we have a couple questions around the fifth strategy of adoption.
Okay.
The first one is, what does Blue Jeans find as the biggest resistance to employees adopting?
Yeah, that's a good one, because the adoption is all about, again, the end users actually wanting to change. So the biggest resistance to employees adopting is there's a lot of people that really just they don't necessarily embrace change at times. It's something where even if you show them the new technology and say, hey, this is new, this is going to be better, a lot of people, even if the technology in place today isn't that great, they're used to it. It's familiar and comfortable to them. That's where we find the most difficult challenge with change is not necessarily building a new technology that's better. It's introducing it in such a way that allows an on-ramp for people to come over to a new technology. Because if you create a chasm where someone has to go from a legacy technology all the way over to this brand new technology with different features and different capabilities and names, it can become difficult to cross that chasm. So what we focus on is building a modern service and adapting new technology, but also creating an on-ramp for existing users to say, hey, we understand that you're comfortable with that service that you use today. Maybe it's not great, but you know it, you know the quirks of it, you know how it works. So let's create an easy on-ramp for you to come over to a new technology and maybe use it in such a way that's familiar to you previously, but also slowly introduce you to improved ways of communicating, to adapting, video, to using the embedded audio we have with Dolby rather than using the phone, for instance. So we have focused on building that on-ramp, but that can be the biggest challenge, is if there is this chasm to cross between old and new, that's where you're going to see a lot of resistance.
Great. And then along those lines, we have a question from ADP. So they've got 56,000 employees, and it can be challenging to source employee champions. What department do you recommend lead that employee champion process?
What we find with technology is typically ultimately IT owns it, but it's not the sole responsibility of IT to necessarily evangelize it or help adopt it. So that's where I see it as a shared responsibility across departments to not only, when you're evaluating a new service, to make sure that IT is engaging different lines of business owners so they can provide their feedback and truly buy into that new technology. But when it comes time for rollout and introducing it, then working collaboratively with the different lines of businesses within an organization to say, hey, we appreciate your input during this evaluation. Can you help us now evangelize this? Because you have helped you've helped choose this new technology, so help us roll it out. So it's a collective effort across the board of IT driving the ownership overall, but the other lines of business and departments really embracing that change and helping drive that within their particular department, because they know how their department works and communicates the different personalities and quirks that might exist there. So it can be a unique approach, while working together collaboratively collaboratively centrally with IT.
Good. Okay, and what looks to be the final question in the queue is asking, what separates BlueJeans from Zoom and other providers?
Sure, it is a very competitive landscape out there today, and there's a lot of offerings that on paper might look the same or at least very similar. So we focused at BlueJeans on a few key items that we feel differentiates ourselves from some of the other competition out there. So first of which, we are born in the cloud and meant to be a cloud service, and that separates us from some other manufacturers out there that are meant to be, or service providers, I should say, that are meant to be on-premise. While still there are some newer ones that are cloud. We've also embraced the ability to join from really almost anywhere on any type of device or even browser. The browser itself has been something we've embraced that hasn't necessarily been a part of other strategy. What you'll find with most other services, talking about Zoom and others, is the need to download an app. And if they offer a browser experience, it's really not necessarily a very immersive browser experience. If you're a company that is going to be hosting meetings with external participants and you don't know if they have the ability to download an app, or you don't want to necessarily require them to download an app, WebRTC and utilizing the browser has been a way for end users to not have to worry about that element of control externally, to just send the link and have people join in and use the browser and use WebRTC, which is a great video experience that Google has built out and we've embraced and have a mature strategy around that on our side. A couple more things that come to mind for me. One is the superior audio experience that we have. We have our partnership with Dolby, which is unique to our service. As far as when you're talking about the enterprise-grade services out there, the traditional audio codecs have been around for a very long time and have been optimized really to the best of their ability. But there's still something that's been lacking, and it's based on user feedback. Audio is it's a tough challenge for meetings. And even though video is something that we embrace here, we realize audio is the most crucial element of a meeting. If you can't hear the people and what they're saying, the meeting just can't happen. So audio needs to be a top priority. So we embrace that with our partnership with Dolby, not only with their software on the back end, but with their hardware as well. I'm using a Dolby conference phone here today in this conference room to really bring that audio experience up to a new level, to remove that as a barrier to have a productive meeting. Lastly, I'll mention our professional services organization. Beyond the technology that we offer, the people is certainly very important to what we have embraced as our strategy internally at BlueJeans, and also what we provide to our customers. So when you come on board, you actually have a full staff of people that is dedicated specifically to your onboarding and deployment. And then also on an ongoing basis to just overall relationship management, technical resources. Our support organization is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all over the world. So knowing that when you come on board as a BlueJeans customer, you actually get a team of people assigned to you after the fact, and it's not just a sign up and good luck. We feel that our people here are really one of the unique differentiators in the levels of service that we offer with our global customer care team.
Good. Thanks for sharing your expertise, Joe. That was great.
Sure.
That wraps up our Q&A portion. I just want to thank all of our attendees for joining today, and thank you, Joe, obviously, for presenting.
Sure.
We have recorded the session, and we'll share it out after we're finished today. And if you're interested in future events, please visit bluejeans.com, and under the resources section of our website, you can find not only upcoming live events, but archived past events. All right, everyone have a great day.
Thanks for joining, everyone.